25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Wait till you hear this story. Wait till you hear this. We get some great guests this week, don't we?
Very great.
Gosh.
Very great, yeah.
Is it Chief Jeff Buck, Robert?
Yes, Chief.
Okay, Police Chief Jeff Buck, right? He's on the phone. He wrote the book called Takedown. Wait till you hear this story. Chief Buck spent more than 20 years working as an undercover drug officer involved in some of the drug investigations of the past generation nationally and internationally. He is the chief of police in Reminderville, Ohio, a place you will never forget the name of.
No.
Because I'm sure he's heard that joke 100 times. Anyway, the book is outstanding, and we're going to learn about what he has done and how it found its way into this book right now. Good morning, Chief Jeff Buck. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Larry, good morning. Good morning. How's everything in Orlando today?
Pretty good. Well, actually, we're in Ocala.
Ocala?
Yeah, it's north of Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And where are you right now? Are you in Reminderville?
I'm in Akron, Ohio. Yeah, near Akron, Ohio. Reminderville, Ohio is between Akron and Cleveland. Yes, sir.
Okay. There's got to be a story behind that name, Reminderville. So tell me, Donald Trump wants to build a wall over Mexico, to separate Mexico from the U.S. I'm not trying to make this political, but according to the book, I mean, more drugs coming across the Canadian border.
Well, we're not saying more. We're saying an equal amount.
Equal amount.
2009, when we did this, I don't know if it's an equal amount or not, but in 2009, the National Drug Intelligence Center estimated 33 billion to 56 billion annually were coming across, and that's when we were doing this. Now they've cut to 2016. It's actually double that is what they're talking about now, 60-some billion to 100-some billion.
Really? Do you have any feelings on the legalization or the decriminalization of most drugs or some drugs or any drugs?
My feelings on the legalization of marijuana are that we should absolutely never do that. It is the worst idea in the world. The reason behind it is most organized crime syndicates derive 30% of their profit from the sale of marijuana. And if you take California, the poster child for legalization of marijuana, their dispensaries are only able to service 15% of the state's use of marijuana. So 85% are still sold by illegal organizations.
Really?
They're still profiting by that. Now, the organized crime operations are actually very diversified. So not only are they selling marijuana, they're selling heroin, cocaine, child pornography, sex trades with underage children, child pornography.
Oh, my goodness.
And all you're doing by that is allowing them to finance their operation without any threat of legal prosecution, because once it's decriminalized, the local law enforcement doesn't have the ability to go arrest them and prosecute them. So they're still able to service 85% of their client base, and their profits are just rolling in without any threat of prosecution.
Oh, my goodness. And the average person wouldn't even have thought about that. I mean, that's just something we wouldn't think about. But you see it. I mean, you've done it firsthand. Are you still with the police department?
I am. I'm still the chief there. I started in 1983, and I worked 20-some years as an undercover operative, and was blessed and able to work all over the United States and out of the country with the greatest undercover narcotics guys anywhere. One of the reasons I wrote this book is that that's the unsung heroes of today. These guys that work narcotics out there, they work all hours of the day and night and weekends and holidays, and they catch the bad guys and they take 30 kilos of heroin off the street. Well, they can't pose by it in the newspaper the next day and say, hey, look what we did, because then they're burned as an undercover forever. So they put it in the property room, they prosecute the guys, they move on to the next case. So nobody really knows the great work that all of these guys, DEA, FBI, state, local law enforcement, the drug task forces in your county are doing. The guys are out there just working their butts off.
Yeah, really. And we sort of know. I mean, we have a hunch, especially if you know somebody who's a police officer. I mean, you sort of know. My dad was a police officer. My brother was a police officer. I think I have a nephew who is, right? Mm-hmm. And when you think about Okay, my dad. Well, let me tell you a story my dad told me once, and see if you can apply it if it applies to drugs. He said it was pointless to pick up the prostitutes in New York City because they were let out the next day by the judge. So, do you have that same battle between the police department and the courts?
Sure, but it goes to the bigger picture in law enforcement and attacking crime. In Takedown, in this book, we could have stopped at the local level, the prostitutes, if you will, when we had our guys, but instead we followed it up the food chain to the source of supply, and we did the source of supply. We put them in prison. So then you interrupt that flow of drugs to your neighborhoods and your schools for a long period of time. You know, if you don't go after, if you just would arrest the prostitutes, the pimp's going to have them out there the next night anyhow.
That's a good point.
If you go after the pimps and the organized crime and you shut that sex trafficking down, then you've accomplished something. It takes a lot longer to put that operation back into effect.
Tell us a story that's in the book. The book is called, for those just tuning in, the book is called Takedown, a small town cop's battle against the Hells Angels and the nation's biggest drug gang. If you could give us a preview of what's in the book.
Well, Larry, basically it started on a domestic violence case from my uniform patrol division. We rolled up in a domestic violence, and it was the male half of the domestic violence was on kind of a interstate in Ohio, kind of a computer database as a person of interest. He linked into some Russian organized crime figures in a neighboring city, the city of Beechwood. Up in Ohio, all the cities touch each other, and we all work together in unison and jointly. We followed it up to Beechwood, found that the Russians were getting their drugs from upstate New York through over a year and a half of investigation and rolling surveillances. We tracked it to the Akwesasne Indian Reservation up there. The Indians are on that reservation are facilitators for every kind of smuggling you can imagine. The drugs that were coming back to Ohio, of course, but also, heroin, methamphetamine, Oxycontin. Matter of fact, even one of the 9/11 hijackers came through that very Indian reservation.
Really? Wow.
And, their product was coming from the Hells Angels in Montreal, in Quebec, and we worked with the Canadian officials and a team effort all the way around. Border Patrol, ATF, DEA, FBI, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, OPP, the state troopers, everybody together to get the bad guys and to stop the flow of these drugs. My bad guys in Ohio were bringing back about $250,000 to $250,000 worth of product every 2 weeks.
Wow. And so what did you do to get them? I mean, did you have to go undercover? Did you have somebody dressed up as a Hell's Angel or something?
Well, we did some undercover work, but predominantly in this case, unlike other cases that I actually did the undercovers on, this case we used modern technology. We enlisted the help of OnStar. We wrote court orders for OnStar because our bad guys in Ohio would rent a car and go to New York to pick up these drugs. Well, of course, they rented a car because they wanted a car with New York license plates on it to avoid our LPRs, our license plate readers, and to not seem conspicuous. So they would rent the car. We wrote the court order for OnStar. We were able to track them to their pickup points. And then once in New York, we teamed up with the New York law enforcement agencies, and we wrote a 9-line wiretap where we were able to spin up on different targets and build cases through technology on all these different bad guys.
Wow, it's amazing how police work works, right? It is interesting. Okay, let's take a little break and we'll be right back. Again, the book is called Takedown: A Small Town Cop's Battle Against the Hells Angels and the Nation's Biggest Drug Gang. Jeff Buck wrote this book. It's not a story; it's true. And you wrote it with John Land and Lindsay Preston. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. There's a high risk for rip currents at the beaches for the rest of the week. Wednesday, it'll be breezy with sunshine and some clouds, high 80 to 84. Wednesday night, patchy clouds, low 59 to 67. Breezy on Thursday. Sunshine will mix with some clouds, get to a high of 80 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Steve Travis.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Hey, this is Dan. Let me ask you a few questions. Does your boat look better with the cover on? Has your car's interior seen its better days? Stop using a towel to cover up those rips in the golf cart. Isn't it about time you had it restored to better than new with a custom upholstery from Captain T? Captain T's Upholstery has been right here in Ocala for nearly 20 years, so they know how to make your ride one of a kind. Whether you want to take that classic ride back to a factory look or put your favorite sports team front and center, Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Yeah, I'm that drip coming down from the corner of the room. But where did I come from? I'll never tell.
Bone Dry Roofing can and will fix it right the first time using quality materials and will deal honestly and fairly with you, period. You can find Bone Dry Roofing on their website, bonedryroofingllc.com, and Facebook at Bone Dry Roofing LLC. Do it right before your roof needs a tarp to keep the elements out. Bone Dry Roofing stands behind their work to help make your home safe and secure, plus they have financing available. Remember, if you're not bone dry, then you're all wet.
Robin, let's try a little plant trivia. Name this nursery. It's a not-for-profit, and it teaches growing and caring for plants to their students.
Oh, that's easy. Kenny's Place.
Or how about this one? It's a nursery conveniently located between Ocala and Bellevue.
Again, it's Kenny's Place.
Or how about this one? A nursery with a wide variety of just what you need or want at the most reasonable prices.
Kenny's Place, of course.
Kenny's Place at 7677 Southeast 41st Court. Give them a call at 867-1213. It's a caring place for people and plants. It's Kenny's Place. All right. 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We work pretty closely with the law enforcement in our community, and because we do a radio show, we kind of have an inside scoop a lot of times on some of the work that they do. And when they are able to figure out a whole ring of drug dealers, it's big news. It's huge news. And the community at large often says, well, how am I safer because you took people smoking marijuana off the streets? Mm-hmm. The cynical approach to those stories. And we've heard callers say that. Okay, so they did all this. How am I safer? You know, yes. and I think this explains why we're safer in this book, Takedown. Chief of Police Jeff Buck is on the phone. Was it Reminderville?
Yes,
Ohio?
Reminderville, Ohio.
I remember it. Okay, good.
We didn't have to remind you.
You were called the dope ghost. Is that right?
Well, some of my friends and my partners started calling me that in the 80s because they would show up places and I would already be there. I worked some long hours in the 80s and 90s to be successful in some of the cases I did back then.
So am I understanding this right? Okay, I asked before about infiltrating them. I mean, you were there. I mean, you were the motorcycle guy who pretended to be one of them?
Not on this case, no. But in cases in the past, yes. This case was all modern technology.
Okay, that's where I guess I was confused. Okay, I see.
Yeah, the Border Patrol, we used drones, we used wiretaps and OnStar, very, very modern technology because this was a very sophisticated organization.
Wow.
Your book is such a fascinating read. I mean, you've got the characters there, you've got personalities of characters, and it really is a great read.
I appreciate that. John Land and Lindsay Preston did a great job on this book, putting it together and helping to find my voice. And again, the book was a team effort, just like the drug cases.
So when we talk about the illegal drugs, is the Canadian border I mean, how do you get across? How do you get across the border with drugs? I went across the border a few times, and they didn't even want me to take cigars.
It's a great question. This Indian reservation, the Akwesasne Indian Reservation that we worked on, and that was facilitating this smuggling. Now, this reservation is generation after generation of smugglers, and if you're standing in the reservation on a street, any street in Ocala that you would want to pick, any neighborhood, it's the same thing. I can stand at this intersection, and on the one corner is Quebec, the other corner is Ontario, Canada, Vermont, and New York on the other two, and there's not a border guard, a crossing gate, any security measures whatsoever in this reservation.
Because
you would
it's
never know.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a reservation.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. So that makes.
And in the wintertime, the reservation's on the St. Lawrence River. The river freezes, and it's a matter of a couple hundred yards. You can walk back and forth to Canada, drive your truck, drive your snowmobile. In the summertime, they have boat sheds, they're like garages on the water, and the boat will run from the U.S. side to Canada and back in less than 5 minutes, and all under the concealment of the river and these boat garages, with no intervention from any type of law enforcement.
Well, when you mentioned that they've been smuggling for generations, how do you stop it? I mean, if father is teaching son, and you arrest father, and the son's going to continue it, he's going to have a son, he's going to continue it. How do we stop this, or do we?
Well, one of the ways I think we could stop it, or at least help prevent a large amount of the smuggling, is the Mexican border currently is 2,000 miles long. It has approximately 22,000 agents working it for smuggling illegal activity. The Canadian border is more than twice that length, 5,500 miles long, and there's only 2,000 agents assigned to the whole entire border. These guys are just working their butts off up there. They need some help. They need some help up there.
Mm.
And is that because of money?
Yeah,
money issues?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of money or actually because of recognition. I mean, when we got up there and we're working with the Canadian officials and the New York officials, it's something that they've thought needed to be brought out in the daylight, that it actually is a huge problem up there. There's a large amount of smuggling coming up there. And you know that the only way that assets and manpower gets reallocated is when somebody actually realizes that there's a problem there. And so the more times I guess they hear that there's a problem, maybe the more manpower these great guys up there that are working on the front lines will get.
So am I right in assuming that since there's no country border between where this is and where we are, that a lot of the drugs that might make it into Ocala could easily come through this opening up there?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, they're talking $100 billion they estimate now. It's making its way all over the United States.
So they're driving it or transporting it. Once they get across the U.S. line, there's kind of it's easy for them, right? They can get from upstate New York to Ocala, no problem. They just drive. I mean, unless they get pulled over for something else.
That's absolutely correct. There's no checkpoints. There's no border crossings. These guys, they're overworked up there, and they're not filtered through what you see on the news as being a booth, a customs crossing, because there is none. They just go back and forth across.
Because it's so easy for them to do that. Is that also how they do some of the human trafficking?
Well, it's the other issue with this reservation is that they call it sovereign land, and I don't really understand it because I don't operate in it every day, but the best I can describe it is the New York State Police, the task forces, the local law enforcement up there, they're kind of hesitant or kind of maybe asked to look the other way and not work on the reservation and allow the tribal police to handle it. So a lot of the enforcement by local law enforcement, state police, it doesn't happen until after the vehicles or the people would leave the reservation. And the reservation is a very tough place to do any type of surveillance. Everybody that lives there is generation after generation. They all know each other. So you can't pull a car up and do surveillance on a street because everybody knows you.
So
you might as well sit in a marked unit.
There's a photograph in the book that, for the listeners, let me describe it. It shows a sign, a welcoming sign, and under the caption under it says, a welcoming sign that encapsulates how the, how do you say, Akwesasne people feel about the non-natives and how outsiders are greeted on the reservations. It's poorly spelled, and the grammar is horrible, but it says, yes, terrorists, in quotes, come through Akwesasne. They are NYSP Border Patrol, ATF, FBI, IRS, etc., the people. So they don't like you. They don't
like any law enforcement. They do not like. While we were there working this case, Larry, and I don't know how much time you have, we were there working this case, and there's a crossing between the United States and Ontario at Cornwall, the island of Cornwall, and it's a border crossing with gates. While we were there working this case, the natives from the reservation got on backhoes and bulldozers and big tractors, and they drove through the reservation to this border crossing and took it over. They took it over and threw the border patrol agents out. The reason they took it over was because Canada decided to arm their border guards, and the Indians on the reservation, the natives on the reservation said, we're not going to stand for that. They took it over, and they held it. I don't know if you remember this. It was big news, world news. They held it for, I think, a couple months, like 60 days. If that happened in the state that I'm in, we would keep calling in law enforcement officers from city to county to state until we had them all arrested and had our people back in the borders.
Wow.
But instead of that, it was shut down for almost 2 months.
Wow. My goodness. Let me give the copy of the book away that you sent to us, Jeff. Call me right now, 622-9622, if you want a copy of Takedown. I've got one copy I can give away. The rest of us have to go buy it. Jeff, do you have a website set up for this?
Amazon. Amazon's selling it both from your Kindle and hard copy.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so go to Amazon. And you said it is a Kindle version also. Is this your first book, and will you be writing more?
It's the first book, and we'll see. I don't know. All indications now are things are going good. I think as of yesterday, less than 24 hours, we were up to number 3 on the Amazon best-selling list.
And
wow.
And I don't know if you want this or not, but this is a no-brainer for a filmmaker or a TV production guy or something.
There's been a few of them already in contact with our publishers and our writers, and anything that we can do, anything that I can do to get the message out there that these guys, these undercover guys are out there working their butts off day in and day out. I think benefits all law enforcement.
All right. Chief Jeff Buck, thank you so much for being on the air with us today. Stay safe up there. I was worried about you guys. I mean, the police, what you do, it's just amazing. Thank you for doing what you do. My father used to say it was a thankless job, so thank a police officer somewhere. Yeah.
Sure.
Rob and Larry, thank you very much for having me on.
That was really good stuff. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. There's a high risk for rip currents at the beaches for the rest of the week. Wednesday, it'll be breezy with sunshine and some clouds, high 80 to 84. Wednesday night, patchy clouds, low 59 to 67. Breezy on Thursday. Sunshine will mix with some clouds, get to a high of 80 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Steve Travis.
This is James Snyder, inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Democrats gearing up for a debate tonight after Hillary Clinton's Mississippi win and upset by Bernie Sanders in Michigan, where Republicans voted for Donald Trump.
Here's how he did it. With half of all Michigan voters angry at the federal government, with more evangelical Christian voters than anyone in the Republican field, and with 45